Sure, yeah. Let's start the recording first instead of the stream. Alright, I guess I'll just hot start it like that because we can. So we're gonna go into chapter 4. That will be today's tutorial. Well, this video's tutorial, rather. Just be ready to kind of skip these cutscenes. I mean, at this point, you should already be, know, completely ready for this stuff. Just skip, then be a little bit careful with the motorcycle minigame. You don't actually reload. Then 2 more skips. Make sure you're holding forward and run, or pushing in on the L3 and forward. So that way you can jog a little bit, but go a little bit quicker than normal. And you can get in front of a wedge normally. At least on the PC and PS5. PS4 version, they take long enough to spawn in that you can't get away with that. Or rather, the game takes so long to load that you can't get away with it.
You've got an arm on you.
But for this version, you can. Right, so we want to make sure we stay in the streets for this early part here. Also, if you already know the movement here, don't worry about this. Just move over to the annex. But stay in the streets here. You want to make sure you're not close enough to Wedge so that he starts following instead of starts talking to the cats. That's a little time save. That's going to save you a lot overall. If you have him start the dialogue and do this save load, you end up losing most of the time from the save load because you're waiting for Wedge to catch up. I also do have my base set up right now, so you want to save load right here. This saves a good couple of seconds. I think it's like 5 or 6. There's a couple of them that add up to a little bit here and there. We're just going to let them go across the street first because I want to be over here anyway. Wait till they're in position, and 3, 2.
Let's head in.
You can either wait for Jesse's dialogue, or you can count it out.
Okay.
It's a shame you won't.
I counted it out wrong, obviously.
With your help.
Oh yeah, this is a skippable cutscene. One of the things with this is like being on the ball with cutscenes. The PC version does load a little bit slower than the PS5 version, mainly because it adds in load screens in some areas. Other places it goes with a normal load. I'm assuming they did this because they were under the impression that most people's computers may not be able to load quite as quickly. But that's about the same duration as a PS5 load right there.
Sorry about dropping in.
We do have a load remover for the PC stuff. I tested it yesterday. It's pretty nice. I've been told it saves around 15 minutes at the top end of a run.
He was a maintenance supervisor at the reactor.
For me, it felt like it was around 10 minutes, but the runner, it was my first PC run. I'm working with a controller I'm not familiar with. My menus are a little bit less sharp than they should be. So considering the source that told me it was 15 minutes, I'd agree. But if just personal experience, it feels like it's between 10 to 15. But just keep in mind that's in-game time by removing loads. That's not actual real-life time, so it's not 15 minutes faster than the PS5. If anything, I'd say it's probably 10 to 15 slower because of the loading. It's actually the opposite. So there's really no optimizations here. We're just trying to...
Mission accomplished.
you can walk right about here. You don't actually have to get out in the street. That is not what I meant to click on. That is something completely different. This is another save load. So when you're doing save loads, you want to like hit the menu button, this one right here, and then slide over to triangle. So you just slide across. And what that'll do is it'll bring up the menu button. It's a little bit harder to show it off because I'm on an Xbox controller right now. So it's not quite as quick as it would be on a PlayStation controller. I find that's the best way to deal with it is swiping across. You do have to hit the X button, but because the square button is photo mode when you open up the menu, when you're doing like cutscene skips too, you just want to get in the habit of not going over square if you can avoid it. So we're going to save load here for a little bit of time. You don't need to save load this one. This one saves very little time. If you're not on PC, it's not worth it. If you're on PS5, it's like 2-ish seconds, I think. Maybe 3. It's very, very small. He's only got like one more line after that. And all it does is make him start moving immediately. So we'll be talking about the materia here in a second and why everything works out the way it does. But that's about it for movement optimizations in this portion of the chapter. There's not really many in between here and the Whispers fight. I'll be talking more about the Whispers when we get headed over there before we get into those fights. So there's a couple of different ways to tackle the Annex, and I'm going to show you the Ice Magnify strat. We used to do a combo of Fire, Elemental, and Lightning Magnify. That's not necessarily wrong, but it's definitely a lot better for PS4 than it is PC and PS5. Mainly because machines have been severely toned down in the PC and PS5 version. Vanilla machines are very tanky, so Lightning Magnify is like almost a must to get through them. It does require a lot more MP. It makes things a lot harder than it needs to be. But if you're playing on a modern version, you know, one of the PC or the PS5, you're going to want to have that in your back pocket. I'll show you how to deal with the PC and PS5 versions, though, and I'll also explain the menus and stuff here. So, normally, this is something that you need to give Gotterdammerung to Tifa for the Whispers fights after. I'll explain why shortly. I also give her First Strike, but that's for something else, so that's not super important. My Cloud usually starts with Lightning Elemental. I'll show you the Elemental Fire route after this, and you can decide which, well, we'll do that first, actually. So what I want to do here is we're going to steal Fire from her. One thing you need to keep in mind is if you're going to do Fire Elemental, you need MP up. This is a very tight MP route, so you gotta be very careful with how much MP you're throwing out. And you also have no ATB boost. I'd say this is a little bit more beginner-friendly, in my opinion. Because Fire Elemental gives you some, like, a way to deal damage with your weapon and not be completely strip-mined. So let me make sure. Yeah, that's what I thought the case was. Blizzard Mag, Fire, Blizzard Magnify. Okay. So that will be, we're going to do this real quick. So this is not the way I normally do it. Yeah, I'm glad the tutorials are helping. Thank you, Clara. But we'll show this off. Me personally, I don't go with this route anymore. I go with a Fire MP Absorb route, and I'll explain that kind of after this one. But I'll just kind of show off how this works. The reason it's really strong is Triple Slash usually gets a debuff if it hits the same target multiple times. But for whatever reason, Elemental materia that's attached to it doesn't suffer from that debuff. So the Fire Elemental is going to hit really hard off Triple Slashes and make the Mithril Saber hit pretty decently hard. But this will more or less be the same, except I'm going to need to grab the Shinra crates in here to micromanage my MP. So, you want to slash right here. That's not the best way to do that. You want to make sure you hit at least 2. I would argue that you're better off just going with Blizzara on those troopers if you're new. It will cost you a little bit more MP, but it's worth it. That ice looked like it hit bricks. Okay. So you want to cast Blizzard to either side and grab that crate while you're waiting for the blizzards to explode. Alright, when you see missile launcher like this, you want to be very careful and make sure you're guarding so that you don't take too much damage. So you see my MP is back to max again. We're going to fire. You could Blizzara Magnify if you're having issues with these two. If you're at max MP, Blizzara Magnify will kill both of them. You're not going to have a chance to grab this other crate, so we're going to grab it now, and you're back up to full. So Fire Elemental is nice, but definitely not the best way to go. I'd say MP Absorb is far better. Okay, so we did one-shot the dogs. You want to slash here, roll to one side, Blizzara, Blizzara, Blizzara. This will only work in the PC or PS5 version, so you need to keep your presence of mind about you. So we're going to fire attack, and then for this route, we're going to wait for the counter and then just kill naturally. That's the only way we can maintain enough ATB to get to the next phase properly. So we need 4 Fire-As here. I'm going to fire a Fire-A and then go into counter stance and then fire a Fire-A. That will be enough to kill Roche. Without ATB boost, this is the only way to handle this fight.
Need a light.
So fire a Fire-A.
Calling fire.
Punisher stance. Fire a Fire-A.
Burn. Time.
So we're going to reset here from before the first battle. Keep in mind, if you're practicing or learning... Keep in mind, if you're practicing and or learning this route, you need to learn this entire fight in one go. You end up with needing refocus the entire time. And if you reset mid-fight... hey, Blue Island. Yeah, I mean, as good as they can be, right? They're just some tutorial videos, but hopefully I do pretty well. But I usually delete my elemental that way. The reason I don't give elemental to Barret is if you look at all these weapons, you see those blue materias? Those are all elementals pre-equipped to different weapons. So if I did, so you look at them right now. If I did this, say, elemental and then do this, look at all those weapons that get fucked up. So now I have to re-equip elemental to literally everything. So that's why I do it that way. Delete that. But we'll load a new... We'll reload the save file after it. Yeah, tutorial VODs. But I'd say MP Absorb Fire is probably the best way to handle this. Refocus instead of MP Up is really nice. You could do Skill Master, but I heavily discourage Skill Master looping. Unless you're... Like, the only reason I would do Skill Master is if you're cutting ATB boost. That's it. But ATB Stagger will give you enough ATB. Yeah, that's it. So the safe way to start this off is going to be swing in Blizzera, of course.
Going in. Now you're in for it.
So Triple Slash will still take care of these guys for the most part. You want to refocus as soon as you can. Just keep an eye on your bars. Yeah, that's gonna happen sometimes. Hopefully everything should be dead. Alright, what do we got left? So this will happen sometimes. You could cast Blizzard or Rush Across, whichever your preferred preference is. Actually, I've got to go over why that happened. So, let me do this through the menuing, and then I'll do it full speed. So you want to slash here, and make sure you hit all 3 of these troopers, and then Blizzard them. Then you want to make sure you target one of these 2. Either J or, what is it? J or L. You want to target one of these 2 over here. And then that Blizzard will hit both of those 2. And then the third Blizzard will separate and hit that big group of like 3 or 4. And Blizzard has a large enough explosion radius that it should hit all of them. So we're going to go into the refocus right now. Hey, Ewan. Thank you, thank you.
Gotta step it up.
So we're going to triple slash through all these clowns. If you fail to kill all of these guys with the triple slash, you can follow up by just holding square for a normal finisher like this. So we're going to Blizzard this guy, Blizzard that. And you don't need to grab these crates, but you might as well.
Calling ice.
I guess not. Okay, like I said, you don't want to get punished by the missiles. You're better off not getting the MP crates than getting hit by missiles. By a large margin. So we're going to fire again.
Calling fire.
They'll usually be close enough for that. There is a setup to make it consistent. You could also go with Blizzard or Magnify. But remember, your Blizzard spells do not refund MP. So the more you use them, the more you're losing out. So we're going to Blizzard these dogs and fire. So the way the Blizzard will always one-shot these dogs, you're trying to just mash out the Blizzard on these first dogs. So like tactical menu this if you have to. And then just fire at any one of the pack following Wedge. And that should kill the whole pack. If one of them survives, Blizzard.
No escape.
So we'll fire and that should kill everything. Alright, so this next phase is kind of obnoxious. You want to attack this guy, roll to the side, And then what we're going to do is retarget Sweeper B instead of A and start spamming Blizzard Magnify. So we're going to Blizzard Magnify, Blizzard Magnify. They're so close that these will double hit.
Shatter. You're done.
And that will be enough. Oh boy. Fyra. Okay, so my ATB is really messed up here. It's very unfortunate. I'm gonna try and build up all the bar I need normally. Okay. Usually a combo without Fire Elemental won't push the phase, so you're gonna need to cast Fyra normally. It looks like I will be able to just attack out of the counter, though, instead of ATB boost. So this is a very unique setup with my ATB the way it is. I did get enough so that I can just fire a Fyra.
No.
But, we're gonna try and take that a little bit slow. Oh! Tips on the pump minigame. You know what the tip is? Don't speedrun this. That's what the tip is. The tip is, oh, oops, I accidentally loaded the next chapter. Oh, the Blade Burst is a backup strat now. As long as tip A backs up, as long as Sweeper A backs up into Sweeper B, which is why you do that slash and then roll to one side, you should be able to kill them with Blizzard Magnify. If it doesn't, however, on the third Blizzard Magnify, which will get the stagger on both of them, you then follow up with Blade Burst for the kill. Hopefully I'll be able to show that off, but yeah, so like the best way to start this is... That's a little bit too much. I'm kind of lucky that I didn't get punished too hard for that. Limit to refocus. You can refocus whenever, but I tend to refocus later, so that's kind of why mine's a little screwy. So we're gonna Blizzard. You don't really need the crates, so it's actually better to stay towards the center of the room like this, because your ice travels quicker. Or will take less long to get to the right side.
You're mine.
So it's kind of your own pick your poison. You don't need to roll here or grab this crate. I just get these out of habit to make sure I have plenty of slush MP. MP is at a premium, and there's very few ways to recover it in hard. So you want to know where all the crates are that give you MP recovery, but you also don't want to get addicted to them either, because you can end up wasting a lot of time doing that over and over again when you really don't need it.
Bundle up.
So we're gonna fire a... Looks like we're gonna get... Oh no, of course not. So you want to slash, like I said, roll, and we're gonna get... Okay, so I'll show you what you would normally do. If, for whatever reason... it didn't kill, you would do this. Blade Burst. This is... I'm simulating the wrong version of the fight. So this is what would happen if you go into this after having used Blade Burst. Your ATB is going to be really messed up. So we'll skip this. Fire.
Calling fire.
You want to attack and to cause... Wait for the counter. Build up the bar. That's a real neat trick right there. When you're in Punisher mode, and you see an attack coming in, stop attacking and hold your guard. You can sometimes get your combo canceled out into the guard, so you can get a Punisher counter out of it. So that's gonna let me just fire right here. Because his HP is more than low enough at this point that I might as well just push the phase with Fyra. So now this is what your ATB would normally look like if you were doing this strat properly. I'll probably show this fight one more time at full speed. Fyra.
Bird. Calling fire.
In the blink of an eye.
Then you ATB boost, double Fyra.
Bird. Needle.
And then we'll restart one more time. It's the red line! Yeah, I think I used to call this split the deadline instead of the red line. Let me see here. Is there anything else in this fight that I need to go over before I go full speed? The reason you attack these first couple of troopers is it will actually put them in a pressured state so that Blizzard Magnify will activate Stagger. So if you're not taking a swing at these, but just raw casting Blizzard Magnify, the blunt line. If you're not attacking these first three troopers and just casting ice, that's why you're not getting ATB Stagger. if you're gonna do that, you need to just hard cast Blizzara Magnify, and that will it should get you the ATB. It's safer to do the attack into Blizzard, but just remember you need to hit them with your sword. So you want to swing a couple of times, like 2 or 3 times, to make sure you get it. So let me bop, bop. And then I've already hit 2 of them, so I'm good. These 2 will both trigger ATB stagger, so now I've got plenty of ATB.
You're done.
Into that. So right here, I could buffer that triple slash before the Blizzara procced, because Blizzara Magnify will give you 2,700 ATB because of the way Magnify interacts with ATB stagger. So I knew I could triple slash there for literally for free. Then I can refocus now, and it splits my ATB into thirds. So you could do, you know, what I should practice is being closer to the center here, rather than going after that MP crate. It's a nasty habit that I need to overcome, but it is something that you can do just in case. Having extra MP while you're, as you're learning is definitely not a negative thing, because it doesn't come back for free. So we're just gonna fire, okay, this is not what you're wanting. That's what you're looking for, though. If you screw up with that Fire and you have the Shock Trooper left, go into Punisher and wait for a counter so that you can get your ATB back, because you need to ATB to do the next phase. So don't just panic throw. You could just wait if you screw it up, because these dogs here will give you ATB stagger procs. Oh, good. If one of these dogs gets loose like this, this is how you take care of it. Just use Blizzard Magnify. Blizzard will one-shot the dog. We don't want to bother casting Fire because it takes longer. And on top of that, it won't trigger ATB stagger. So, there we go. My ATB is fixed. Got her, strats. Well, yes and no.
Bundle up.
So, Blizzara. You can get the kill on 2 Blizzaras, but it's not very common. That's actually even more uncommon. Interesting. So, we'll Fire.
No escape.
Fire.
Calling fire.
Because my ATB was perfect, I could get away with a Fire like that. Actually, no. This is what happens when you screw up. This is going to be kind of dicey. So I'm actually going to lash out immediately so I can try and bait out the... Oh boy.
Never again.
Can you...
Open up the throttle.
Fire. ATB boost. Fire.
Burn.
Shall I keep you company?
Fire. I could only YOLO through that because I had so much HP, but that's not how you do that fight. Let me redo. This is the one thing, is like practicing Roche can be quite the difficult thing, because I'll show you actually. If you restart, it removes your refocus, so it can make practicing this fight quite the pain in the ass. Into refocus.
Time to dig deep. Going in.
Unauthorized entry in 76 Annex.
That's
All
not
units,
correct.
Proceed to location and secure. Unauthorized.
No, it's not the PS4 controller. I'm still using... I'm using the same controller input program, except it has a setting to switch the display to a PS4 display. I'm still using the Xbox controller. It's just a matter of, like, simplicity's sake for people, like, trying to learn the game. Yeah, pretty much. It's just a fancy skin overlay. I'm being really lazy about it right now and just capturing it in a browser. Apparently, you can set it up through the OBS, but I don't have that right now. So we're going to Blizzard the dogs and then cast Fire. You always need to enter this phase with, like, 2 ATB. If you don't, you can just use Fire. So we're going to move over. Blizzara. Good. We're not going to... Alright. Alright, I'm just going to act like this freaking game is going to give me the wrong thing. This is what we used to do. That's what we used to do. So we're going to Fire.
Time to burn.
Attack. And then go for the counter. And then... Since I saw the crit, I'm going to go for the regular combo. Okay? You can also change stances to get an additional sweep slash, and immediately transfer into an operator combo.
Past the red line.
So once again, you want to fire
No escape.
burn.
In the blink of an eye.
And if your ATB is that good, you would normally like ATB boost before that fire, but
Well done.
so one of the other things you can do, if your ATB is just very narrowly too low with Roche, you can hold back while, you know, buffering your inputs. And Cloud will take a step back, build a little bit of ATB, and cast Fire. And if you still need to do that, keep holding back while you're mashing, so that you'll keep backing up just a little bit to get that little bit of ATB build from movement.
Why is that?
Roche is probably the hardest out of everything in there. Because you're going through a lot of stuff, and you're like, all right, good, I got a great fight. You know, the sweepers backed up for me. The dogs gave me good patterns. You know, I one-shot everything. And then you, like, get to Roche, and you saw even somebody who's practiced it as much as I have, and has done probably, like,
With a little trick I've been
easily halfway through the double digits, like 20 to 30 runs, 40, 50 runs of this, I still screw up Roche. It's so easy to forget and, like, just mash Fyra a little bit too aggressively. So, initially, like, be very, what's the word I want to look for? Deliberate? Yeah. Deliberate in your inputs. And if you need to, feel free to use tactical menu. Especially if you're going to use tactical, use remember on tactical, because then if you're using like Fyra through tactical instead of shortcuts, you can just bam, tactical Fyra, and then mash X to just cast it again, and then mash X to cast it again. Once you get used to your shortcuts, you can start doing what we call like a fifth shortcut. If you mash X without remember for the tactical menu of a character, they'll be set on their base command as their input. So Cloud would be Braver, Aerith would be Soul Drain, Tifa would be Unbridled Strength, and Barret would be Steel Skin. Unfortunately for Barret, Steel Skin is the opposite of a game plan. Steel Skin's good, but it doesn't move the needle forward. If Focus Shot was his basic command, it would be much better. But you could pull up a character's menu like that and just mash X to input that command real quick, or like obviously open it up with like R2 and then mash X. So that way you can pull out a Braver pretty easily without having to shortcut it. I still end up shortcutting Braver because I use it a lot. So it'll end up saving me time overall. But it's not necessarily a needed thing. Yeah. If you're on PC, you gotta remember to be conscious of the load times that you're going to have. There are quite a few excessively long loads. Also, since I did this materia menu backwards right before the chapter, I normally would not do that menu in this chapter. I'd do it all the way back in chapter 1. But if you're learning to speedrun this, I would 100% suggest doing a menu in chapter 1. In terms of load times, PS5 is faster RTA, but because the PC has a load remover now, it saves reportedly upwards of 15 minutes. I feel like it saves around 10 right now, but that might just be that I was playing so poorly that I can't justify 15 minutes in the back of my head the other day. But PC is actually slower because they added load screens back in for a lot of the loading segments. So we lose time to loads all over the place. But for the most part, it plays pretty well.
I missed you.
Not too much hitching and stitching. So these next couple of fights are really obnoxious. But yeah. It doesn't really matter what we take here, just skip it. I'll go over actually the stuff in the before Whispers. Yeah, I want to go over the menu thing before the Whispers. It's maybe, I don't know. I think the PS5 is just optimized better because they know exactly what specs they're dealing with. Meanwhile, with a PC, they're having a hard time, like, figuring it out. So, a couple of things before we go to bed. One, that menu that I did in Chapter 4, you can do that back in Chapter 1. I would highly suggest, for a newer runner, to take a split menu. And go with, like, HP ups in between. Cloud is your only character, and he will get roasted until you're very, very good at the game. There's been more than one run that I was forced to equip heal on because I decided to take the training wheels off early and not go with HP up. And you can get punished for it very hard. If you're going with MP Absorb like I am now, there's no reason to play it fast and loose. Just go with HP up. But for this next fight, the Whispers, we're going to do a little weird thing with Tifa here, where we one-shot the Whispers to avoid a second wave spawn. I'll show it off a couple of times and then show it off doing it wrong. I do this in the tactical menu because on the PS5 it runs too fast for me to do this with shortcuts. So that's just that, and I don't use somersault in it. I could use somersault, but I don't use it enough to justify it.
Calling fire.
Okay. Yep. So, you'd see there that somersault hit all three of these at once, but the other one it didn't. So here's the thing. If you kill 3 or 4 of those Whispers all at once, it'll stop spawning an additional wave. So I'll show you what happens if I don't fire the additional Whisper, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. This isn't something you have to get in your run, but it is a nice little time save if you can get used to doing it. You might as well. I'd say until you're, like, aiming for a very specific time. So we're going to aim for B here. Usually, thank you, D. D's nuts. I usually fire a D because D doesn't like to play ball and usually, like, just kind of flies off. But as you can see, like, it's pretty consistent if you target B. I'll probably have to do this like 4 or 5 times and I'll never miss it once because it's not an actual run. So we're just going to keep save scumming this until I can, well, there you go, right there. That could happen. Sometimes your brain is just very, very small. So,
going in. Let's finish this.
So what happens when you fail, is you'll see, now there's 1 Whisper, 2 Whispers right here. This is what happens when you don't get that quick kill. Of course, the problem is that they take forever to spawn and be killable. If not, we could just Blizzard a Magnify or something. I'd honestly suggest not putting refocus on Tifa just to avoid the risk of accidentally refocusing. Because the thing is, you start getting into a pattern where you're like, okay, I need to fire off the limit really fast. And it's really not that time sensitive when you're in the tactical menu. So you need to focus on making sure that you're locked on.
Calling fire.
But yeah, you can see how consistent this is for the most part. You also want to make sure you bring Tifa over here and go for that. And the reason Tifa was moving like that is because of the parry materia.
Again?
I'll keep saying this until I'm done making these videos. You need to have parry on Tifa. You need to... Can I...
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
So there's a couple of ways you can handle this fight. I'll show you the Bobby method.
Tell me that.
And then I'll show you the big boy method. Neither are right or wrong. One is slightly faster, but that's about it. Since you have ATB boost, it really doesn't matter what you do. Just ATB boost, ATB boost, Blizzard. So the way that this fight works is if you stagger a ghost and then kill it, the Enigmatic Spectre will become pressured, which will mean you can stagger that prick. The thing is, the only way to pressure the regular whispers is to hit them with a magic attack. So normally you're just thinking, well, okay, spells. You can also use Chi Trap, you can also use Blade Burst to get that pressured status, because those are both magic-based. I believe Barrett doesn't have a magic-based skill. And Aerith, yeah, Barrett's not even ever in one of these fights, so it doesn't matter. I believe Aerith's sorcerer's... actually, everything Aerith does is magic-based, so don't worry about it. But usually blizzarding these is the fastest way to deal with it. So you'll notice that I'm getting a lot of stagger procs here. There is something you can do. You can do the Unga Bunga method, where it's just basically fire off limits till it dies. That works as well. If you're going to do Blizzard strat, that's what you should just do. Just fire off a pair of limits and call it a day. It's not the fastest way to get through the fight, but it is a way to get through the fight. I'm going to show you the other method with Blizzera. I would say the double Blizzard method is probably a little bit better for newer runners, because then all you have to do is input 2 limits, right? Trying to do the inputs here can be a little bit annoying because you have to deal with a lot of camera changes, and the game really doesn't want to show you. So you Blizzera off the start, and what you're looking for is an Impale, but you don't usually get it. Blizzera.
Chill.
I could have ATB boosted in between, but I want to make sure I'm locked onto this guy. Fire,
Let's finish.
and then Star Shower is probably the safest way to go. Okay, that's extremely stupid. So the Blizzera didn't proc properly and didn't stagger the Whisper, I don't think. Either that or the Whisper was too far away. That's not common. That probably was my fault, whatever caused... I probably caused that.
Fight a hurricane.
That's the one issue with the not getting Impale. It can make it quite obnoxious. I think the problem is I may have accidentally cast the Blizzera on Big Boy. So the easiest way to do this is Blizzera.
Bundle up. Let's do this. Swap. That's it.
And then we want to make sure we Blizzera on one of the regular Whispers.
Shatter.
And then we'll Fire. Oh boy.
Going in. You're done.
There you go. See, he's staggered now. I would suggest, like I said, just do the Blizzard. Blizzard ATB boost, magnify, or Blizzard ATB boost, Blizzard, and into cross slash. So that's basically it for chapter 3 or 4. You can tell that at some point you just stop remembering what chapters or which ones. You're just kind of like, I did the thing. Let's go on. But that fight can be pretty obnoxious. I just stick Blizzard, limit, done. It's just as easy as I did it the first time and nearly impossible to get screwed out of it. The Blizzera strat is a little more complex. I believe Strife has a video on it. There's a bunch of different videos of stuff like that strewn about. If you have any questions about that one in particular, I can make another video, but for new runners, I just Blizzard Magnify twice into limits. You're gonna lose a couple of seconds because of the cinematic and limit stuff, but you'll always rip through the Whisper with that. Even if he drops out of pressure, the limits usually hit hard enough. Cross Slash and Somersault hit so fucking hard, so fast, that they'll just strip mine the HP before he even has a chance to even think about what's going on. So that'll be it for Chapter 4. I'm going to go back and do Chapter 3 now. See you guys later, and I hope this helped. Peace.